Welcome to the first lesson within our Life Essentials Masterclass, The Rules and Meaning of Life. This is the full lesson and the first version. If you're watching or listening to this somewhere online and you want to ensure that you have the latest version and to find the other lessons, the workbooks and other materials and everything, please go to our website. It's 7wayme. That's the number 7, way.me, and join the Life Essentials Masterclass from the big button on the homepage or within the training section. Okay, let's get started and answer the question. The answer to the meaning of life, the universe, and everything is 42. Well, that's it for this class. Thank you for joining us. I know I'm just joking. If you missed that, 42 was the number used in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy to explain the meaning of life and everything. To actually discover the true meaning of life, we must first understand the rules to life. To help us understand these life rules, we're going to use an analogy. You know that child's board game of life? It comes in a box, it has rules. You move a piece on a board, and as you progress through the game, you make choices. Seemingly random things happen to you that determines your destiny and if you're going to win or lose at this game of life. Our universe is similar to this child's board game of life. And the setup we call these rules are called the human conditions. The fact is, we all share these human conditions, means that we are all forced to do and deal with many of the same issues throughout the day to survive and thrive. The human conditions under which we live are the same for all of us and includes really two types, the universal and the life-centric. Universal conditions include the big things, right? Like the fact that we live in a universe on a planet, that there's gravity, that as we move through space, time passes, entropy, cause and effect, day and night, good and evil, and all this other big stuff. The life-centric conditions that we all share include things like birth, death, the fact that we're all born ignorant, helpless, totally dependent, the fact that it takes so long for us to grow up, our need for food, water, relationships, and all the rest of the communities that we need and everything else that makes us human, right? Now, these underlying factors of being human remain the same for all of us, no matter our circumstances. This means that even though we might not all look the same, speak the same language, have the same physical or mental abilities, be the same gender, on a fundamental level, we all need, want, and have to deal with many of the same things at some point. The human conditions are structures of our life and our society. It's this ever-present catalyst and energy source that drives us regardless of if we want to or not. For example, in the child's game of life, we act and move as time passes. As we move, the conditions affect us. We have no choice but to be affected. Now, these human conditions focus our attention on essential aspects of what it is to be a sentient life form. It does all of this and much more in a repetitive manner. You can see this repetitive structure and the similarities between day and night and the life. In both cases, we awaken, learn, get tired, and surrender our consciousness. This repetition is designed to force us to think, choose, act in very specific ways, collectively and individually every day. The conditions allow us for an opportunity to learn and improve by choosing and implementing a better way of doing something this next time or the next day. Now, for many of us who believe in something more, this is really the whole point of why we're here, right? We inhabit these bodies for a short time because this is a training and testing ground preparing us for a greater reality. To be clear, over time, this repetitive cycle provides significant opportunity to gain deeper understandings and to refine and perfect many of the critical aspects of ourselves, our society, and our world. This is especially true as we pass on knowledge and infrastructure from generation to generation. The key here is to use these human conditions to spur us on in positive ways, individually and collectively as a species. This is key because this is really how you become a better person day by day by day. And if we do not use the human conditions to spur us on in positive ways, they lead to the negative, right? They lead to desperation, rationalization, confusion, and a lot of other negatives that we can plainly see within people, within ourselves, right? In our society. Okay, now that we understand the basic setup and rules to life, let's go deeper into the human conditions and their effect on our lives. When we analyze all the conditions and put them together, we find that they focus us on preserving our life, those that we care for, and changing our environment and our society so that they can help us, right? Basically, if you boil that down, it comes down to self-creation, self-control, and societal development. Basically, it's about managing yourself and everything around you. Just like the child's game of life, the human conditions are the board game and rules that constrain us in this great game of life. Think about it like this. You literally have to create yourself from a little baby into an adult, and you must control this process if you really are going to be your best. You also are doing this within a society that is either helping you become your best or it's not. From this perspective, you can see that the way and everything I'm talking about as commentary on these three focuses of self-creation, self-control, and societal development. Okay, let's go into each one of these a little deeper so we're all clear on exactly what we're talking about. Self-creation is the ability to create oneself into who you want to be. And again, we're all born ignorant. And by our very nature, as we grow, we use our free will and choice to create ourselves, right? From a little baby to an adult. Okay, let's go a little deeper into these ideas of free will and choice, for they really are essential to everything we're doing. Free will is the power of independent action and the ability to act or make choices as a free and autonomous being. Free will also means that we do not choose because of compulsion or predestination. Choice is to be able to decide which we feel is the best or most appropriate. Our decisions are exercised in action. Now, as we get older and more capable of understanding ourselves and our world, we make more choices. It's through this accumulation of the right knowledge that we gain wisdom to make the right choices and create ourselves into who we really want to be. Now, that being said, our freedom of choice and actions are confined, defined, limited, influenced by these human conditions that we're talking about. Free will means we can choose anything within these limits. For example, you can't choose not to eat or sleep and continue to live. You can't cool a nuclear reactor with your mind. You can't fly around in space without any protection and all the rest, right? This idea of constraint or limits applies to everything, including things like randomness and chaos, because they are also contained by our universe and these universal conditions, and therefore they're not truly random or chaotic. Okay, now let's move on from the self-creation aspect of the human conditions to the next of self-control. To be clear, self-control is our ability to control our behavior, especially in terms of our actions, reactions, and impulses. For example, your free will and choice allows you to control your behavior physically, what your body does, mentally, what you are thinking, and emotionally, what you are feeling. Now, here are some examples of self-control issues within each of these states. Okay, physically, question, do you adhere to a good sleeping pattern? Do you care and maintain for your body correctly? Do you hydrate correctly? Do you hit and lash out when provoked or your buttons are pushed? And now on the mental side, do you think, treat, and talk about yourself in a positive way? What is your constant mental focus? Or to say it another way, What do you think about most of the time? Is it positive or negative? Are you just wandering around without control, or is there any type of focus? Do you know what your core beliefs and influences are that affect your attitude towards everything? Okay, now emotionally, do you know what you're feeling and why? Can you feel a wide range of emotions, or are you just stuck on a few like anger and sadness and things like that? How about the extreme feelings? Are you prone to wide mood swings, or are they in proportion with the situation? How much significance do you give your emotions? Do they overrule everything else in your life? Can you rule your emotions with logic? And again, you should be able to change emotional states and go through this, feel empathy and sympathy. You know what I'm saying? So when you're thinking about emotional control, you're thinking about all of this. There's a lot more to it. I'm just going to skip over some of what I had here. But you should be able to get this idea. It's like mentally, physically, and emotionally, are you controlling yourself? It should be obvious that controlling who you are right now determines who you become. It's through proper self-control that we choose the path of our creation. To say it another way, without proper control, you will be unable to walk your true path to your true self. Our human conditional needs for things like food, sex, actually force us into situations of temptation, choice, self-control, and self-creation. For example, the human condition of our need for food can be a virtue when we manage this correctly, right? Because it really helps you become your best. But if you don't, it becomes the vice of gluttony, especially when we take it too far. Self-control is one of those traits we must help our children master, as it will help them go further in life. One way to do this is to use delayed gratification exercises, also known as impulse control exercises. Simply making them wait to receive a special toy, food, treat, or other activity helps build this willpower. You can learn more about different ways to develop impulse control through rewards and incentives within the Child and Family Guide, the Way series, as well as, there's a lot of this stuff online. So be sure to check that out. Okay, let's move on from self-creation and control to the last one of the human conditions and the way it focuses us, which is societal development. The fact is, no one is an island unto ourselves. We cannot survive nor thrive alone. We are dependent on our world, and all that is around us is part of the society in which we live. We are part of and affected by this greater whole. We need a thriving world, good people, and a great society to help us if we really are going to reach our full potential. Okay, now, I don't have time, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, to cover all the aspects of creating a better society in this short masterclass, but I am going to get into competition and cooperation just for a minute here, because it's central to this whole problem and solution that we're after. The human conditions under which we live force us to compete as well as work together, cooperate, and share if we are to survive. If we balance our cooperation and competition well, we can really even thrive. Our society centers on individuals cooperating and competing in a lot of different ways. Our ability to cooperate and compete, as well as our ability to improve our skills and systems, is one of humanity's greatest powers and challenges. This is what makes us creators and destroyers, capable of the truly special and wonderful, as well as the truly horrifying. Some examples of these basic societal, cooperative, and competitive systems include our families, relationships, tribes, clans, countries, cities, as well as the systems within our society. The primary societal systems include government, economics and business, communications, health, justice, religion, media, and entertainment, as well as the basics, which include things like education, water, food, housing, clothing, sanitation, transportation, emergency services, and energy. Our quality of life and level of society depends on one, how well these systems are developed, two, the ease of access that we have to these critical systems, and three, the quality of the products and services that are offered. To be clear, none of these systems are evil. We need all of them. However, they can become a negative force if they are corrupted and malformed. We need all of these systems. So what it really means is we need to fix them, develop them, and maintain them, right? Not burn them all down and try to start over again. So in the end, all the societal systems need to be running well if we are to really, truly thrive, for you to be your best, and for a society to be a wonderful place, and all the rest. The fact is, our shared human conditions forces us to work together to compensate for and to overcome the conditions under which we are forced to live. Cooperating as we compete is key if we're not only to survive but thrive. Our state of existence creates an ever-present life challenge for us to undertake individually as well as a society, for here we find opportunities to achieve higher states of being, to create a better society, as well as situations that are loaded with temptations and opportunities to be corrupted. So let's look at an example. Okay, take a sporting event where there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go to and watch, right? We find a lot of cooperation here, and there are rules, right? We have to select the locations, there are measurements, everything is, detailed right down to the nth degree, right? The competition comes in when we let these athletes run in the race. But even here, there are going to be rules, right? You all have to start in the right place. You get disqualified if you hit somebody, if you're running, or you're taking drugs, or using bribes, or whatever it may be. In the end, our competitive spirit taken too far without cooperation is what becomes corruption. Corruption is the acceptance of the unacceptable and the corrupt. In this light, one purpose of our human conditions become clear. These human conditions, they force us as individuals and as a society to make choices. These situations and our choices test our ability to live up to our conscience and our positive moral code, and to stand up against the corruption that's possible within ourselves and our society. Therefore, it's key to realize that cooperatively competing correctly at the highest levels is one of our greatest gifts, and is how we improve our culture and ultimately create the true society that we're really all after. However, it is also one of our greatest challenges that, if not handled correctly, can truly lead to our destruction. The only way to stop the bad is for the good of the world to unite and take the correct actions. Unity of positive purpose is the way to true success for us as individuals and as a species. Again, the focus on societal development is critical, for we're all born ignorant, helpless, and we need our caregivers and society to give us a good start if we're really going to live a meaningful life and be our best. Therefore, one of the primary goals as a species is to neutralize the desperation created by the human conditions under which we live. Right? We need to create a world where these horrible negative starts to life and other horrors just don't happen to everybody, because we created a better world. We all want to live in this conducive environment that helps us become better and better people throughout our lives. Now, knowing and sharing true goals as a species is the starting point on creating a better society. On a side note, this is why all the solutions and the way and everything works, is because it's all based in these human conditions that we all share. So be sure to check those out. And when you're looking at everything, honestly, you can see self-creation, self-control, societal development in everything. Not only that I'm doing, but pretty much everything that we're trying to achieve as a society. This whole setup under which we live is a training and testing ground. The human conditions are designed to ingrain key ways of being as they force us to use our free will to make choices that will determine our fate and our destiny. We have no option but to work to master the rules to life, or else we're going to fail. This is a great gift as we're not just puppets, right? We can learn, we can choose, we can change, and we can do better. We can use this repetitive cycle under which we live, our free will, our choice, right? Our power of choice to create a better path for ourselves and our society. We are here to prove that we are worthy and to live up to the promise of our creation. Okay, now that we understand the rules to this great game of life, we can unveil the meaning of life. However, before we go there, people find it helpful if we first understand what the word meaning really means, right? In this context, especially. When we say things like, what is the meaning of life? We define meaning in a way that emphasizes the idea of inner importance, our purpose, significance, self-worth, value, generally how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about what we're doing every day. To say it another way, the meaning of life has to do with the value you find in who you are and what you do throughout your life. So what is a meaningful life? Okay, I'm just going to stop here for a second and do a quick recap because the answer to this question is obvious and logical, right? So remember, the human conditions under which we live focus all of us on self-creation, self-control, and societal development in a repetitive way. And our success or failure in this great game of life is determined by the choices we make and the actions we take and how we handle these conditions from day to day along our life. So therefore, logically, we have to literally create and control our development from a baby to an adult, then we must find meaning in the life we live every day. Or to say it another way, the meaning of life is in creating a meaningful life. Or to say it even another way, the meaning of life is found in making your life meaningful. Now, for many of us, while this answer is logical, it still may seem a bit unfulfilling for if we are to create a meaningful life and find meaning, or however you want to say that, we need to know exactly how to do it. Ideally, if we are all to create a meaningful life, humanity as a whole needs a path that will work for all of us. When I say path, I mean an actual list of goals and the details on how to achieve everything. So the question becomes, what are the goals that we need to create this meaningful life? And then how do we find, or where do we find all these details on how to actually do this? Well, it just so happens that that's what's covered in the rest of this series. So be sure to catch the second lesson on the true goal of life, where we'll help you take one more step down the path to creating the meaningful life that you always wanted. And remember, if you're seeing this somewhere online and you want to see all the rest of the lessons and get all the other materials, make sure you have the right one, go to our website, 7wayme, that's the number 7, WAY.me, and click on the big button on the homepage, Life Essentials Masterclass. As always, feel free to reach out to me at any time with any questions or suggestions. And don't forget, you can drop me a tip. Don't forget to give me a like, a subscribe, share, and leave a nice comment. It helps other people find all of this stuff. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your help. Until next time, wishing you peace, happiness, and true success always. God bless you.